What's up, everyone? It's Mark here with Leveled Up for our first ever episode of Ask a Life Coach. The rules are very simple. You've submitted me questions. I have not seen them before, but I pull one out of a basket and I do my best to answer it for you. So let's jump in and see what you've got for me today. Does being family mean you let them get away with more / forgive them for everything? I think let's start with this notion of, do you forgive them for everything? I think when we think about forgiveness, we have to think of it as a self-interested thing, and that's not necessarily bad, but we forgive for our own sake, right? We forgive so that we can stay sane, so that we can live in the present rather than, dwelling on the past or maybe sort of begrudgingly going through life feeling like we were wronged or what have you. So in pretty much any context, I recommend forgiveness. It's best not to hold on to judgment and blame and resentment and frustration and all of these emotions that can, just fester if we let them. So I think whether somebody is family or not, in any context, forgiveness is a healthy thing to practice whenever possible. That doesn't mean that you, looking at the other clause here, doesn't mean you let them get away with more. I would say no. I mean, that phrase "get away with" is pretty intense wording there. So no, you are entitled to respect. You are allowed to have boundaries and to expect that they be followed and appreciated and respected. And you are also allowed to, want people in your life that help you grow, that add value, that are building you up rather than bringing you down. So no, nobody's allowed to get away with things with regard to you. Obviously, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody trips up. And so, you don't necessarily want to say, oh, I had one boundary and you messed up, so you're gone forever. Obviously, we all decide how many breaks to cut people or how many chances to give people. But when mistakes happen, I think it's really important that, we engage in healthy dialogue where we communicate about it, we try to get on the same page, and we go forward from there. And, if people are doing that with you and they're making genuine efforts, then, maybe it makes sense to let them get away with things from time to time if you want to think about it in that context. But if that's not happening, if people aren't adding value, or maybe the relationship is kind of toxic, or they're taking advantage of you, things of that nature, then I think it's really important just to remember that family is a choice. It's not necessarily biological. So you decide who your family is, and that may or may not be your biological family or all of your biological family. But, you decide which people add value to your life, which people you want to think of as family and commit to and relate to as you will. And it's possible that, you have different rules that you play by when you interact with family as opposed to other people. That's kind of totally up to you. There's not really a right or wrong here, so long as you are taking good care of yourself, advocating for your own needs, bringing in what adds value, letting go of the rest. And, even if your family is a family of choice, just remember that people change all the time, right? Dynamics change, individuals change. So making a choice to bring somebody into your family, to see them as family, doesn't necessarily mean that, they get a free pass on anything, or that, they'll always be in your life, or they'll always be in your life in the same way. So this isn't really sort of a one and done, oh, you're family and therefore blank, or oh, you're not family and, therefore XYZ. Everything is always in flux. So I would say, yes, forgive, always forgive, because it doesn't do you any good to harbor, harmful feelings or resentment or frustration or whatever. So when you can forgive, just acknowledge that everybody's going through their own stuff, and usually there's a long list of causes and circumstances that led people to be who they are and to do what they did. It's never somebody just woke up and was like, I want to be an evil person today or something like that, right? So, even labels like evil obviously are really not helpful. So forgive, recognize that there's a story there, recognize that the best thing for you to do is to live in the now, to be present, to take good care of yourself. But yes, absolutely advocate for yourself, set healthy boundaries, keep the people in your life that can respect those. And if there are people who just consistently cannot respect those, then remember that family is a choice, and it's a constant choice. It's not just a choice that you make one day and then are done choosing. So those are some of my thoughts on that one. I hope you find that helpful and are able to find whatever sort of peace or balance you need to. And sometimes these family situations are really incredibly difficult, but it really comes down to communication, being as clear as you can about what you need, and then seeing who is or isn't willing to give you that. So best of luck to you, and thank you to all of my viewers for tuning in for this first of what I hope is many Ask a Life Coach questions. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next one.